Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of USPBL Baseball. My name is Rich Borland, and in just a second, my broadcasting partner for tonight's contest, Mr. Brandon Rothenberg, will join me. With it being Friday night, I want to remind all the fans tuning in that it's another one of our Metro PCS Firework Fridays. Not only that, but it's Catholic night at Jimmy John's Field. Now tonight, certain fans will be praising, certain fans will be ready for fireworks, but everybody is ready for baseball. Before we take a look at the matchup for this evening, I want to enlighten our viewers on the pitcher's duel that we witnessed last night. Between Jake Angus and Jesse Stinnett, both starters almost completed 7 innings of work apiece. Stinnett did not earn a victory, but he slightly outpitched his counterpart Angus, who made a great start after his last outing, which he did not get out of the first inning. The combination of Sam Cottingham-Beard, Chris Dula, and Mike Shimonico allowed no runs on no hits, didn't have any walks, and combined for 2 strikeouts apiece to close the door for the Unicorns to get them back to 500. Dan Elliott had another hot night to his already spectacular week as he hit 2 home runs in the non-public doubleheader Tuesday with 6 RBIs, and then yesterday as he was the hero, went 2 for 4 with a single, 2 RBIs, but he hit the game-winning home run in the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs after Clifton Landis III had struck out 2 batters. Both teams today, the Westside Woolly Mammoths and Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, are on a little bit of a cold streak as the Beavers have lost their last 3 games while the Mammoths are 4-6 in their last 10 and have lost 4 out of their last 5. Head-to-head on the year, these 2 Western Division rivals have seen each other quite a bit. In total, they have played each other 15 times already, and in those games, it's been pretty darn even throughout the stretch. The Mammoths have a 1-game advantage in the season battle, winning 8 of the 15 games. Throughout the first 7, the Mammoths won 5 of the contests, but since then, the Beavers have won 5 out of the last 8. In total, the Beavers have scored 71 runs versus the Mammoths this year, literally 1 more run than the Mammoths have scored versus the Beavers. As for our pitching matchup tonight, it'll be Josh Mason and Kevin Matthews. On the season, Kevin Matthews making just his 4th start of the year, 4th overall appearance. Kevin Matthews, a 2.31 ERA in 11 2/3 innings pitched. He's allowed 3 earned runs on 9 hits, 9 walks in those almost 12 innings, but 17 strikeouts as well. And then for Josh Mason, not enough that we can say about this guy. A 7-2 record. He's got the most wins by starting pitchers, by any pitcher, in the entire league in 2018. In his 11 starts and 1 relief appearance, he's got a 2.68 ERA, and through 74 innings pitched, he's allowed just 20 earned runs on 55 hits. But here's the kicker, Brandon, that I always love to talk about. It really shows the separation of the complete aces on all of these staffs is the strikeout-to-walk ratio. And I'll tell you what, Josh Mason, after Cody Brown had left the USPBL, it belongs to Josh Mason when it comes to strikeout-to-walk ratio. 62 strikeouts to just 16 walks on the year for Mason. So to dive into this pitching matchup a little bit more, I'll now bring it over to our broadcasting partner for tonight, Mr. Brandon Rothenberg. Brandon, welcome.
Thanks, Rich. Good to be back. Beautiful Friday night here at Jimmy John's Field. Great pitching matchup last night. Hopefully we can expect another one here tonight on Friday night. So starting on the mound for the home team Bloomfield Beavers, we have the lefty Kevin Matthews. Matthews features 3 pitches: the 4-seam fastball, which he throws 78% of the time, a curveball 21% of the time, and the occasional changeup. Matthews was drafted by the Texas Rangers back in the 1st round of the 2011 MLB draft. He was the 33rd overall pick. And he's from Richmond Hill High School in Georgia. His senior year at Richmond Hill, speaking about solid walk-to-strikeout ratios, he went 4-2 with an ERA of 1.68 on the mound, pitched 42 innings, allowed 14 hits, 14 walks, and struck out 94 batters. He also missed the majority of the 2014 season because of an injured shoulder. Unfortunately, when he had returned, he was sent back to rookie ball and then eventually low single A. So Matthews is back for a little bit of a tune-up, strengthen his arm and his arsenal. And on the other side, for the Westside Woolly Mammoths, we have Josh Mason. Mason throws the fastball 58% of the time, the slider 25% of the time, and the changeup 17% of the time, along with the occasional curveball. Matthews standing at 6'1", 205 pounds, from Virginia Wesleyan, and leads the USPBL with wins and a 7-2 record.
So we'll talk a little bit more about this pitching matchup after our anthem and then get into our starting lineups. We'll head down to the field now for our nation's anthem. Alrighty, so as the color guard makes their way off the field, God Bless America and our nation's anthem being sung proudly here at the ballpark. Friday night baseball as we are getting ready for Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers and Westside Woolly Mammoths, a Western Division rivalry. Rich Borland and Brandon Rothenberg, your broadcasters for tonight's game. And Brandon, you delved into the pitching matchup tonight between Josh Mason and Kevin Matthews. Really a tale of two ends for both of these guys. Of course, Mason with some of the most starts on the season with 11 coming into play tonight in that 7-2 record. And then on the other end, Matthews making just his fourth start of the year with that good 2.31 ERA, but he's only gone less than 12 innings on the year. So quickly, let's talk about the two starting lineups that will go up against these pitchers in the contest tonight, starting with the visitors. It'll be Ethan Whisker, the center fielder, batting first. Gaudencio Luca, the shortstop, batting second. Batting third, the catcher, number 25, Jackson Smith. Batting in the cleanup spot today and playing first base, just the fourth start on the year. Tyler Pagano, instead of the DH role, he is over there at first base. First start over there at the first base bag since July the 19th. He's had 33 of his 36 games as the designated hitter, so we'll see some leather from Pagano tonight, the Oakland University native. Brandon Cuddy will be the DH, batting fifth. Batting second, the second baseman, Jalen Lawson. Batting seventh in left field today, making his outfield debut for the Westside Woolly Mammoths, Jake Barbie. Batting eighth, the third baseman, number 15, Alec Allred. And then batting ninth, the right fielder, Drew Kitson. And then quickly on the other end for the Beavers, I'll run it down a little quicker as we're getting ready for action, but it'll be Campana, the center fielder, Rulis, the shortstop, Haranik, the first baseman, batting third, Brandon Raw, the left fielder, batting cleanup tonight, TJ Ward, the third baseman, batting fifth, Rob Paller as the designated hitter, he's batting sixth, Helsel, the second baseman, batting seventh. Adam Gauthier getting the start tonight in place of Hunter Wood. He's batting eighth. And then Ryan Smith, the right fielder, rounding out this Birmingham Bloomfield Beaver lineup. So, Brandon, you've seen 18 names come across your eyes here in the last couple of seconds. I want you to pick one of them, and I'll pick one on the opposite team. We'll see who has a better night tonight in our Pick the Stick contest.
So, Rich, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to take the shortstop, Gaudencio Luca.
I love it. So Luca is playing in just his second game, made his debut yesterday against those Utica Unicorns, and he ended up going over 3, but did walk and score a run in the process. So Luca, I'm sure, is eager to get that first taste of a hit here in the USPBL. And then I'll go on the opposite end. I really can't stray away from it. It's Friday night. It's Friday Night Raw. We're going to go Brandon Raw, who was 1 for 6 in the doubleheader against the Unicorns on Tuesday in the non-public doubleheader. But that 1 for 6 day, he had the home run, and he also had 2 home runs in the previous weekend, back-to-back days with one of those. And I'm excited to see what he can do here tonight on Friday night as we're getting ready for baseball at Jimmy John's Field. Our home plate umpire, that is Mr. Gary Wagenschutz. And then over there at the first base bag is Mr. Frank Marquette. So we are ready for baseball at Jimmy John's Field. First pitch at 7:05, right on time. Swung on and missed at that fastball. It is 82 degrees here in Utica. And Ethan Whisker, who lost that 11-game hitting streak last night when he went 0 for 4, the beauty of that, an opportunity to start a new streak here today, but he looks at a called second strike of the at-bat. Quickly down 0-2, like the start for Matthews.
And last night, the Westside Woolly Mammoths unfortunately lost 2-1, and Dan Elliott hit a crushing solo shot in the 9th inning to give the Unicorns that 2-1 lead and eventually get the win. But the Westside Woolly Mammoths swung at a lot of pitches early on and kind of got into trouble, and unfortunately for them, they really couldn't put anything together throughout the remainder of the game. You look through the lineup, Jackson Smith with 2 hits, Tyler Pagano had a couple of hits, but really, other than those couple of hits spread out, there wasn't much going on through the lineup. So tonight, guys, got to be a little bit more patient, see some pitches here from Kevin Matthews and see what they can do.
No patience just yet. Ethan Whisker, he's seen 4 pitches, all of them for strikes, as he's fouled off the last 2 after starting out 0-2 in the count. Matthews throwing nothing but stuff over the heart of the plate. This breaking ball softly hit to the left side, but time and time again, that Thomas Rulis making plays like no other at the shortstop position ends up getting out number 1, as Whisker will not have a hit here in his first plate appearance. That'll bring up your pick the stick there, Brandon. Gaudencio Luca.
Yeah, well, Rich, I did a little bit of research on Gaudencio Luca. His junior year at Texas Southern, he had a game in which he had 4 hits versus Grambling State. He had a game in which he had 2 homers versus Prairie View A&M, and he had a game with 3 stolen bases versus Jackson State. So Guadencio Luca kind of got all the tools, a little bit of power, a little bit of speed. So granted, this is only his, second game here in the USPBL, so we'll see what he can do. You look at a guy like Dallas Oliver, who the center fielder for the Utica Unicorns, who just broke into the league and already in a couple games has become one of the most fascinating players. He became just a triple shy of the cycle in his second game, and it seems like he's getting hit after hit in each of his at-bats, so you never know here with Guadencio Luca tonight.
Got guys like Dallas Oliver, guys like Nick Campana, who have joined the league late but have really been a spark plug in their short USPBL careers as Matthews finds the strike zone after going 2-0 against Luca, who goes by Champy. Still need to figure out why he goes by that. I'm not sure if he's technically a winner at everything he does, but that is the nickname there for the shortstop out of Mountain View, California, as he fouls off the 4th pitch of the at-bat. Nice job by Matthews to fight back in this count here after starting off the 2-hole hitter with 2 straight balls.
Well, it's interesting if you take a look at Kevin Matthews, the lefty on the mound tonight for these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. Works out of the stretch, doesn't come out of the windup, so gives the batter a little bit more time in the batter's box to decide what they want to do.
Didn't have a lot of time to decide what he wanted to do on that one. Luca goes down via that backwards K, and he'll start his day off with a strikeout. But here comes a guy who has really been kind of under the radar, really successful all season long. Jackson Smith, who he's got the body type of an outfielder that bats in either the top or the bottom of this lineup, but Jackson Smith, the catcher, playing pretty much every day at that position. If he's not catching, he's over there at the first base bag. He's an aggressive hitter, as you see him swing at the first pitch there. But Jackson Smith in the game on the 9th yesterday against the Utica Unicorns, he was 2 for 4 with a double, a single. But so far this season in the league, he's 4th in batting average with a .299. He's got 21 walks on the year, which is good for 4th in the league. But he's also got the 5th most hits with 35. So a guy who can really do a little bit of everything, like you were talking about with Luca, as Jackson Smith looks at pitch number 2 for called strike 2.
Yeah, Jackson Smith definitely doing his part. Several multi-hit games here within the last couple of games of this week.
3rd pitch of the at-bat, a little high, but close enough for Smith to go after it. Fouls it off again, and this one goes back into that protective netting. Stays 0-2, and tell you what, really liking the command that we're seeing from Matthews, but as the game goes on and as he gets, through the second and hopefully for him the 3rd time through the lineup, he's going to want to start to mix in a couple of pitches that start in the zone and then end up getting out of it. He's pitched to a lot of contact so far this year in his just 11 2/3 innings pitch coming into play today, and that's something that he's going to want to work on, not give up too much in terms of throwing too many strikes.
Well, another guy on the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, Jerry Salisbury, another lefty. He's a guy that will throw the fastball and his off-speed pitch a number of times.
As you see the off-speed pitch right there, back-to-back Ks for Kevin Matthews as he ends this top of the 1st inning, and it takes him just 14 pitches, count them 12 for strikes. Really good start there for Matthews, the left-hander, as we head to the home half of the 1st. Scoreless, you're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the USPBL YouTube channel. Rich Borland, Brandon Rothenberg with you. If you're just joining us a little bit late into the broadcast, Kevin Matthews with a really good start for the Beavers on the bump. Retires Whisker on a 6-3 putout and then strikes out the 2-hole and 3-hole hitters between Luca and Smith through 14 pitches, 12 of them for strikes. And a little different story for Josh Mason. It takes just one pitch as Nick Campana hits a fly ball to dead center field. Ethan Whisker barely having to make a movement as he makes the catch for out number 1. But I'll tell you what, it was good contact right there off the bat of Campana. He's an aggressive hitter. He's an aggressive player in general, whether he's at the plate, in the field, or on the base pass. And you like the aggressiveness there, and it seemed as if that ball just kind of died once it got up in the air.
I'll tell you what, Rich, that matchup of Campana versus Josh Mason tonight is going to be rather interesting. Campana with a lot of speed on the base pass and has been hitting rather well lately. So if Campana gets on, you can expect him to be aggressive out there on the base pass, maybe attempt to steal a base or two here tonight.
Meanwhile, Thomas Rulis standing in, looks at ball 1, evens this count up at 1-1. Rulis in the doubleheader on Tuesday was 3 for 8 with 3 singles, a run scored, and 2 strikeouts. But first in a lot of categories offensively in this league as he looks at ball 2 in the count. Most runs in the league with 26 runs scored. He's got a .313 batting average, which is good for first in the league. And he's also got the most stolen bases with 13 on the year. So a guy who can hit, a guy who can get on base, a guy who can steal them, and a guy who can come in to score a lot. He's tied for 3rd in the league with 40 hits as well. And, of course, he's tied with the guy looming on deck in Jack Haranek. The 2-2 high may have been a strike, but Rulis fouls it off into the protective netting. Foul. The count stays even at 2-2.
I'll tell you what, Rich, Thomas Rulis is just beyond reminiscent of the Tigers shortstop Jose Iglesias. I mean, every time that we're on the call and Rulis is up there out in the field, he always makes spectacular plays. And he makes it look so easy, too, which I really, really envy, and I'm sure most fans listening and watching do as well.
Yeah, he made that first initial play on Whisker, who really hit a slow chopping ground ball to Rulis and kind of had to play the in-between hop. Whisker with some speed at the top of this Westside lineup. It was not an easy play as he looks at ball 3 now. He's worked the count full. A guy who can look at a lot of pitches and work the count as Mason will try and finish the job here. But this one taken for a ride. Thomas Rulis with only 1 home run on the year, but that'll be number 2. This one over the wall and over the head of Drew Kitson. Thomas Rulis with just 1 home run this year, 1 home run last year, 1 home run his senior season at Dartmouth. Hits home run number 2 on the year. This one puts the Beavers up 1-0.
Well, that was a tricky at-bat there facing Josh Mason. Working the count full, fouling off a couple of pitches, and finally gets the one he likes, a fastball right in the inside part of the plate, and rides it and hits it over the right field fence onto the hill out there. Couldn't even think of the word, Rich.
You were so surprised that you were a loss for words, but I'll tell you what, we talk so much about the game that Thomas Rulis has been able to provide in all of these years here at the USPBL, but the one thing that had been missing from his game had been that power. But there goes home run number 2. First season in a long time for Thomas Rulis to have multiple dingers on the year, but a really good sign there from the Dartmouth product. He's a smart young man, of course, coming to us from the Ivy League, but he shows his bronze right there and takes that one for a ride. And speaking of home runs, Jack Haranek, as he looks at the 0-2 breaking ball away, he's got, count him, 4 on the year, but he's got the most RBIs in the USPBL with 29. He's played in 36 games, which is all for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, as this one misses the zone as well. The count evens at 2-2, but Haranek, he's got the most doubles in the league with 12. He's got the 3rd best batting average, sitting at .305 today, and he's tied for 5th in the league with 20 runs scored. A guy who's been the USPBL Player of the Week before. Brandon, you had that great story that came out earlier this week about him and his incredible start to the season. Now he had that 12-game hitting streak, which still currently tied for the league lead with that 12-game hitting streak. I believe him and Dan Ward have both been able to accomplish that this year. And then, of course, Whisker yesterday going 0 for 4 was not able to join and be a part of a trio on the season. But we'll see what Haranek can do here on the 2-2 from Mason. He takes it to the opposite field, ends up going a little bit shallower than Jake Barbie would have liked, as that one initially looked like it was going to be right to him, but takes a few steps in as he makes the catch for out number 2. And we mentioned Barbie in his first start that isn't at the catcher's position at first base or the DH. It's Barbie in left, Whisker in center, Kitson in right, all red at the hot corner, Luca at shortstop, Lawson over at second, and Pagano, like we mentioned, just his 4th start on the year in his 36th game at the first base bag. His first start at first base since July the 19th, as Brandon Raw, might pick the stick contest, looks at strike one to start off this at-bat. Mason in a groove, fastball outside corner. And I'll tell you what, it looks as if the shadows are playing a role here against Brandon Raw, because those were 2 very good fastballs that were both strikes, and Raw's another one of those guys who's aggressive. It might just be a little problem for him seeing the ball out of the hand there of Mason as he drops that slider that he throws 25% of the time low and away, but Raw, good job to lay off of that one. Mason, the windup, the 1-2 pitch. That one, another slider. This one missing low and away again, and I'd be shocked to see anything other than the fastball here. Maybe go back inside to try and change up that eye level and approach to the plate as he gets ready for the 2-2. Bases empty, 2 outs. Curveball hung a little bit. This one down that left field line. Jake Barbie trying to make his 2nd consecutive catch. Loses the hat, but does not lose the baseball as he makes the catch for the 3rd and final out. But the Beavers get that first run of the game on the solo shot from Thomas Rulis. We head to the 2nd inning. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler Pagano, Brandon Cuddy, Jalen Lawson, your 4, 5, 6 hitters to start this top of the 2nd inning. Pagano trying to hold back on the breaking ball from Matthews. The curveball he could not hold back on. Strike one to begin this at-bat. A backdoor curveball this time around, and Pagano can't do anything but sit there and admire it quickly. Down in the count 0-2. He starts off this 2nd inning as he did the first, against a couple of really good batters in Whisker and Pagano, but he's going right after these guys, and look at that. Fastball, 91 miles an hour, doing nothing but freezing Pagano here up at the plate. 3rd consecutive strikeout for Matthews, and coming into this inning, he had 14 pitches, 12 of them for strikes. He throws 3 straight to Pagano. He's not messing around, 1 up, 1 down.
Yeah, well, not only that, but Matthews does his homework clearly. He's done his scouting. As Tyler Pagano, notoriously one of the guys in the league who really just can't hit the slider and off-speed pitches, and we saw Matthews there start him off with back-to-back curveballs and sliders. Both the first time he went around, second time was looking, and then a perfect pitch there. Probably he was expecting another curveball, but Matthews drops the fastball right down the middle and gets him looking, one up and one down.
So Cuddy looks at a ball to start off this at-bat. Cuddy, first game since the 27th of June. I believe he was battling a little bit of a quad injury, but in the month of July, 11 for 36, a 305 batting average. Pretty darn good numbers there for the Tulsa, Oklahoma native as he looks at called strike one, count even at a pair of sticks as the infield outfielders getting ready. This ball fought off and down the left field line it goes. Mentioned the defense for the Mammoths in the home half of the first. The defense for the Beavers, it's Raw in left, Campana in center, Smith in right, TJ Ward at the hot corner, Thomas Rulis, the home run hitter on the day at shortstop, Christian Helsel over there at the second base bag. He was playing third for the most part of the year, but he separated his shoulder on a diving stop where he has to transition over to the right side of the infield, I'm assuming probably because he can't throw the ball as well as he did before he had separated that shoulder. But how about Kevin Matthews? Back-to-back strikeouts here in this second inning, and that's now 4 straight for the left-hander. He's cruising right now.
And if you take a look at his arsenal, he throws that fastball 78% of the time and the curveball only 21% of the time. Now, to me, it looks like he's been primarily focusing on the off-speed here tonight, and it's worked well for him so far. A couple of strikeouts, a couple of swings and misses, and just like we saw there on that strikeout, his curveball is looking really good here tonight.
And that was the main reason that he was up at the higher levels at one point. His curveball is a thing of beauty, and he throws the fastball on the outside part of the plate. Gauthier can't hold on to it, but, yeah, that is the bread and butter there for the left-hander. He'll go to it, you know, we mentioned coming into the broadcast 21% of the time, but if it's working as well as it is tonight against a fastball-heavy offense in the Mammoths, it's going to be a nice long night for Kevin Matthews in a positive way as Lawson swings and misses at the high cheese away. It's 1-2.
Well, you got to imagine that Matthews is going to bring that off-speed pitch here again. Jalen Lawson just a touch late there on that last offering, but you can expect something low and away here and get him swinging.
Kevin Matthews trying to strike out the side. That one low, but a little inside on Lawson. Is that one a good stop by Gauthier? Not that he needed to, as, of course, nobody on base with the 2 outs on the board. Matthews trying to strike out his 5th consecutive batter and strike out the side in the second. This one a foul ball, but I thought it went in the mid of Gauthier for a second, but it must have trickled underneath as Lawson stays alive at least for one more pitch here in this at-bat. Matthews back to work. Pitch number 28, here it comes, backdoor bender. You saw 3 infielders and Campana in center. It was Campana, Helsel, Rulis, and Ward, all 4 of them making their way towards that third base dugout as they thought they were ready to come back up to the plate, but home plate umpire Mr. Gary Wagenschutz says otherwise, so Matthews will have to throw at least one more pitch here in this second inning. But that's what I thought all it would be. Back-to-back benders. Really not sure where those 2 missed.
Well, it's evident there that the Beavers infield is clearly paying attention, not sleeping out there on both of those pitches there to Jalen Lawson. Everybody was walking off the field, and those 2 back-to-back curveballs looked like a called strike 3 with Lawson not offering at both of them, but unfortunately for Matthews and fortunately for Lawson, he reaches via the base on balls.
So Matthews will have to throw a couple more pitches here in this second inning, but you don't want to let things slip away from you. Barbie, Allred, and Kitson really haven't been too successful in terms of putting the ball in play on the years. Barbie looks at ball 1 high. Barbie in the game yesterday was 1 for 4 with a single and a strikeout, but that average dipping to 167 as he's 15 of 90 coming into play today. Barbie with 11 RBIs on the year, but he's yet to take a ball out of the park. Matthews with the fastball. That one looked like it was a little bit high as well, but this one a called strike there from Wagenschutz. Maybe a little bit of a makeup for a couple of those benders that missed to Lawson.
And 7 strikeouts in his last 5 games for Jake Barbie. That batting average sitting at 167 on the season.
Fouls that one off into the netting. Count drops to 1-2 on the left-hander. Mentioned it's Catholic night at the ballpark. We'll also be having our Metro PCS firework extravaganza coming up after the game. So look to be almost nearly a sellout crowd here at the ballpark. People lined up all the way from left to right. As the count 1-2 on Barbie, fastball in the dirt. Lawson looked like he was trying to take a bag right there, but does not as he goes back to first base. But Gauthier looked like he was ready.
Rich, not a cloud in the sky here tonight. And last night at the ballpark, it was extremely cloudy and overcast, and it looked like we weren't going to possibly be able to get the game in. The tarp was on the field prior to it, but fortunately for us and all the fans, we got that game in.
As Matthews gets that strike in, that is strikeout number 5 on the day. He gets 3 strikeouts in the frame and allows Lawson to reach on the walk, but that goes unscathed as we head to the home half of the second. Beavers working with the 1-run lead, courtesy of the home run from Thomas Rulis. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. And to the home half of the second inning we go. Out there for his second inning of work is Josh Mason. 21 pitches in the first, 13 for strikes, 8 for balls. He gives up the solo shot to Thomas Rulis. 4 flyouts in that first inning. It's just one of them that got over the fence as Brandon Raw, Jack Aranek, and Nick Campana all flew out separately as TJ Ward looks at ball one and then fouls off strike one. Mason continuing to work. This ball taken to the opposite field. Looks like it's got enough to get out of play. And, in fact, it does. Count dropping to 1-2 on the Hartford native.
Well, TJ Ward, his junior year at Hartford back in 2017, he was the team captain. Started 38 of those 39 games in which he had appeared and batted .235 with 31 hits and 5 homers while driving in 32 and scoring 23 times. Rich, he also had 7 multi-hit games and finished with a .417 slugging percentage.
Yeah, Ward's a pretty darn good hitter. Got actually recruited by Nick Campana, both Hartford natives. As this ball roped down the right field line past the first baseman, Pagano. TJ Ward there with hit number 5 on the season in just his 32nd at-bat. Was 2 for 7 in that doubleheader on Tuesday, in the non-public doubleheader. Had a home run, a single, and 3 RBIs, and he starts off his night here today on a good note as he gets a leadoff single to start this home half of the second for the Beavers.
Well, for Josh Mason, he's pitched at least 5 innings since May 26th. So throughout a number of starts, he's gone at least 5. So that's a good sign here tonight for these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, getting ahead and getting on base early, trying to work his pitch count and hopefully limit him to the number of innings that he'll throw tonight.
Yeah, Mason did not get the decision in his last outing on August the 2nd against the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, where he went just 5 innings, allowed 5 earned runs on 8 hits. As this ball's popped up into shallow left field, looks like it'll be Luca underneath it to make the catch and retire Paller, as we're still trying to get used to that little name change. But back to Josh Mason. Before that start on August the 2nd, Brandon, he had won his last 4 decisions going from June 26th to July 25th against the Diamond Hoppers 3 separate times and the Unicorns once. But on the season against the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, he's had 3 starts on the year, and he's got just 2 victories, and 2 of his 3 no decisions on the year are against the Beavers. So not as much success against this Birmingham Bloomfield team compared to the 2 teams in the East.
Yeah, TJ Ward getting a little bit aggressive over there at first base. We saw Jackson Smith throw back, trying to pick him off on his way back to first, but Ward being a little bit safe and keeping it close to the bag.
Breaking ball falls right over the plate as Helsel looks at called strike 1. Can't do anything with it. Helsel played in just one of the 2 games in the doubleheader on Tuesday, where he went 0 for 1 with a run on a walk. But we're happy to see him healthy. We're happy to see him back in this lineup. The Altoona, Pennsylvania native coming to us here as he's got just a .213 average coming into play today. He's got 19 hits and 89 at-bats. Has left the park once, so you know he's got the ability to do so. He's just got to connect with a good pitch as Mason comes set, gives one look over there to Ward at first. Throws that 83-mile-an-hour, what looked to be the changeup, which he only goes to about 17% of the time, but you saw the command. That's the issue there for the changeup with Mason, why he doesn't throw it as much as he does his slider. Sometimes he leaves it up in the zone a little bit too much, and that one, thankfully, out of the zone high as this 2-1 pitch, a breaking ball, and I'll tell you right now, that looked like the hit and run was on there, as that was kind of a show-me swing for Christian Helsel. You saw TJ Ward trying to take second base, and kind of a halfway swing there for Helsel, trying to not allow his runner to get caught out there on the breaking ball.
What's funny about that is TJ Ward, and just his previous at-bat, that was the way he got on with that single. He kind of tomahawked a pitch up and away in the zone into right field, and you saw the Beavers trying to pull off a hit and run there.
This ball hit into shallow center field. Looks like Whiskers got a beat on it, and he does. Makes the catch for out number 2. He's been a little busy tonight. That's already catch number 3. And we've only gotten through 7 batters, so a very busy night thus far for the Hillsdale College native as Adam Gauthier stands in for the first time today. Was 2 for 3 in the doubleheader on Tuesday against the Corns with 2 singles, a run scored, and a strikeout. We'll see what he can do in place of Hunter Wood, who's had a really hot bat as the catcher for the Beavers on the year. But Wood getting the night off tonight. This one hit out there into center field. Whisker once again getting the opportunity and making the most of it. Makes the catch to retire the side on out number 2 and 3. And the Beavers strand the leadoff single off the bat of TJ Ward. We head to the 3rd at Jimmy John's Field. Beavers out in front by 1. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland, Brandon Rothenberg with you. We head to the third inning at Jimmy John's Field. 35 pitches on the night so far for Kevin Matthews, one more than his counterpart, Josh Mason. 26 strikes to 9 balls. Now 10 of those as he starts Alec Allred off with a ball that misses low. 5 strikeouts and just 1 walk on the night so far for Matthews. He's got to deal with the 8, 9, and 1 hitters at the plate here in this inning to start. But you can tell already a couple of pitches that were really nowhere close, and you wonder if that immaculate type of control that we've seen from Matthews in the first 2 frames are starting to dwindle down. And this one, missing the zone high and away this time, that's the first 3-0 count that we've seen thus far out of the left-handed arm of Mr. Matthews.
And Matthews throws that fastball 78% of the time, and he's thrown back-to-back-to-back fastballs here against Alec Allred and has missed the location with every one of those.
Throws another fastball in there. This one good enough for a called strike, according to Mr. Gary Wagenschutz, our home plate umpire. And it's a really fortunate situation here for Matthews. He's working with the 1-0 lead. Now, in this game of baseball, of course, things can turn with the tail of the dime, but the 3-1 pitch, look at that, battles back in this count. Allred swings and misses to bring the count full, and now Matthews just 1 pitch away from getting strikeout number 6 through just his first 8 batters faced.
And that right there might have been the changeup from Matthews, having a little bit of drop action to that ball, going low and away against the righty Alec Allred.
Yeah, he throws that just 2% of the time. Brings this one as it goes back up the middle. The second baseman, Christian Helsel, ends up making the play on the run, gets a little help from Horanek with the scoop at first. And not only that, but they keep a 0 up in that hit column for the Westside Woolly Mammoths. Great start to the top of this third inning.
Yeah, I don't know how that ball somehow got through Matthews' legs and snuck right over to the second baseman, Helsel. That was a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill, and fortunately for the Beavers, that pans out.
What a great start to this frame. You saw Matthews start off a little shaky with that 3 straight balls thrown to Allred, but after that throws 3 straight strikes, and then that last one getting into the field of play. Christian Helsel helping out his pitcher there. And I'll tell you what, if we get a little deeper into this game with the conversation at hand, we'll definitely look back at that one right there. Put a star on that. As this ball hit hard over to the hot corner this time, TJ Ward making a tough play look routine as Drew Kitson goes down via the 5-3 put out and 2 groundouts to start in this frame. Those are the just second and third groundouts of the night as it comes back to the top of this order where we saw that first ground ball of the evening. That was after Ethan Whisker had seen 4 strikes after fouling off 2. I'll tell you what, if I'm Matthews here, I would maybe try that curveball again here to Whisker. First pitch, instead fastball, shows exactly what I know up here in the booth as Whisker looks at called strike 1 on the outside part of the plate.
Matthews a little bit more favorable with that off-speed pitch his last time out. But this inning is looking like he's primarily focusing on the fastball as his out pitch. And another thing, too, is on that at-bat by Alec Allred that was hit up the middle. And Jack Horanek is huge over there at first base. So if there's any sort of ball that's thrown to him high, I have no doubts that he could, miss it depending on how errant that throw is. But it was a great pick in the dirt to save that base hit from getting on the board.
Matthews that close to strikeout number 6 as Whisker just makes enough contact on the third pitch of the at-bat, but Whisker is yet to see a ball tonight as he's looked at, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strikes so far this evening, fouling off 3, putting 1 in play as he's now ready for the 0-2. Matthews with the fastball. This one would have definitely been a ball high and away, but Whisker, an aggressive guy at the top of this lineup with that 294 average coming into play tonight, keeps on swinging. And I'll tell you what, Whisker with 42 hits, second in the league behind Dan Ward. He's got 23 RBIs, which is good for 4th in the league. Since July the 1st, he's 20 for 72, which is a 277 average, but he's tied for 5th in the league with those 20 runs scored. And we mentioned how he lost that 11-game hitting streak just yesterday as he went 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts.
Rich, in many ways, this game is playing out like last night's game. Granted, with that 1-0 lead and with the scoreboard looking the way it is, things are going pretty well.
And there it goes. You didn't say it, but there it goes. Ethan Whisker with a base knock into left field, and there goes the short stint of a no-hitter as Whisker reaches base safely with the 2-out single.
Well, you had to figure it was either going to happen or it wasn't. And typically with no hitters and perfect games, you always have that one really amazing play that stands out. And whether it's early on in the game or later in the game, it happens. And it happened here, but unfortunately to no avail.
So here comes your pick the stick candidate. We'll see if the 2-out single, first hit of the game off the bat of Whisker, can lead to something successful here for Luca Guadencio, as he's 0 for 1 on the day with a looking strikeout on 5 pitches. But Matthews dropping another bender in there forces Luca to sit there and take a look at it, as I would expect to see a fastball here. And there it goes. That one going about 58 feet as it hits the dirt. Whisker going from first to second with ease on the wild pitch, and the count goes to 1-1 on Guadencio.
Yeah, I guess Matthews was kind of sensing that he was really feeling it here tonight, and unfortunately he just gave up that first base hit of the game, and that pitch might have gotten just a little bit away from him, missing about 2 feet or so from home plate. So he just got to regain himself and keep throwing strikes and get out of this inning.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a big at-bat here between him and Luca. The last thing you want to do is allow two guys to go back-to-back with a couple of hits. And look at that. Matthews will be able to get the job done all on his own. Little flick of the wrist, underhand over there to Haranek. The 1-3 putout retires Guadencio. And the Mammoths strand the first hit of the game with that 2-out single from Ethan Whisker. It's still a 1-0 lead for the Beavers as we head to the home half of the third. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. To the home half of the third inning we go. Welcome back to the USPBL YouTube channel. Rich Borland and Brandon Rothenberg with you. Ryan Smith, first pitch swinging, and right under the wickets of the man at the hot corner, Alec Allred. A error committed by the third baseman will start the inning off in a productive way for the Beavers, and that E5 could definitely come back to haunt the Mammoths as we go back to the top of the order. I'll tell you what, after allowing Ryan Smith to reach on an error, you got Campana, Rulis, Haranek, Raw, Ward, Paller. I mean, the list goes on. Not a tough stretch to go against here if you're Mason. Something that you'd love to see here is a ground ball that could lead to two. But, of course, with Nick Campana up there at the plate, plenty of speed and a guy who likes to hit the ball in the air compared to hitting it on the ground. So not your best scenario here if you're Mason without allowing to get that first hit on the first pitch.
Yeah, that was a key error there on Alec Allred, unfortunately. Now, Mr. Josh Mason out on the mound has to face the top of the lineup with nobody on with one on and nobody out. So we'll see if that error will come back to haunt the Westside Woolly Mammoths.
Chris Newell, the manager of these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, they've lost 3 games in a row, but they're 6-4 in their last 10. So a hot streak combined with a 3-game losing streak, kind of middle ground here for these Beavers as they still remain in that first base position. As we mentioned, the standings coming into play tonight, the Beavers at 19-17, sitting in first place, but the Utica Unicorns just a game behind them at 19-19 on the year. And then in second place, of course, the Westside Woolly Mammoths at 18-19, and then the Eastside Diamond Hoppers just a half game back on them with 1 less win and 1 less loss, as the Diamond Hoppers sit at 17-18. Jackson Smith looks like a bullet thrower right there. Campana, the batter, could not swing through the pitch, and Ryan Smith, who does have some stolen bases on the year, cannot get the job done there. Perfect throw from Jackson Smith, gets the job done, and retires Ryan Smith for out number 1.
I'll tell you what, Rich, I noticed Ryan Smith over there on first base had his hand up trying to shield the sun out of his eyes and look over to the third base side of the field to see what the coach was calling for. And we saw him with that steal attempt, and it looked like he was just a little bit late there. And maybe for Smith, he was kind of having trouble seeing what the call was with that sun in his eyes.
Hard hit ground ball to the left side. Can Alec Allred redeem himself to end the frame? Yes, he can. A hard hit ball over there, and that's only out number 2 as I got a little ahead of myself there. But Allred with a good job as he gets back-to-back ground balls hit his way and ends up keeping that ball in front of him. It was really a 2-process type of approach as he had to really act as a brick wall or a goalie, keep that one in front of him, find the loose ball in front, and make that rifle the throw to retire Campana, who does have some speed as the leadoff hitter. But the 5-3 putout good enough for out number 2. And here comes that man who had a home run in the first inning, Thomas Rulis, as he's batting from the left side. The only one to drive in the run on the day as this ball hit hard down the right field line on the ground, but it's foul by a couple of feet, according to our first base umpire, Mr. Frank Marquette. But I'll tell you what, loving what we're seeing from Thomas Rulis, not just with the home run, but really the approach at the plate. He worked the count full in that at-bat, in just the second at-bat of the day for the team as a whole, and he is seeing the ball very well as that one a little bit closer down that right field line. But another good call there from Frank Marquette as it goes just foul, whistling down that line.
Yeah, that tiny baseball being thrown definitely looks like a giant beach-sized volleyball for Thomas Rulis. He's got 10 hits in his last 8 games. He's really hitting the bat well. That batting average sitting at a modest .313, and hit that solo shot here earlier in the game, so expect a good one here from Thomas Rulis.
Rulis not having to do much on that one. That 57-footer hits the dirt before it gets towards home plate. Looked to be that changeup there from Josh Mason. Mentioned he throws the fastball nearly 60% of the time, that slider 25% of the time, but the changeup just around 15 to 20% of the time as this ball, 85-mile-an-hour bender, goes out of play, and Rulis continuing to fight in this at-bat.
Well, Alec Allred, when he made that error earlier this inning, the very next batter hit a ground ball, of course, his way. And in baseball, it seems like in those certain situations, the ball always happens to find you, whether you just came into the game or like you just made an error like Allred did, but he did his best to stop that ball and get the out.
This one taking the opposite way from Rulis. He's hitting the ball to all parts of the field tonight. Another big fly ball from the Dartmouth product, but this one does find the mitt of Jake Barbie for the third and final out. So the leadoff error to from Ryan Smith at Alec Allred goes unscathed. Then we head to the 4th inning at Jimmy John's Field. Beavers still out in front by 1. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. We're through 3 at Jimmy John's Field. It'll be the 3-4-5 hitters Smith, Pagano, and Cuddy due up for the Westside Woolly Mammoths to begin this 4th frame. Kevin Matthews with 51 pitches through his first 3 frames as the crowd getting into it here on Friday night with a couple of Beaver chants. But Matthews allowing the 2-out single to Ethan Whisker. That was the only hit of the game that he has been able to give up, as Smith ends up hitting one down that right field line foul. The count even at 1-1.
Jackson Smith definitely doing his part recently here in the USPBL. Got a couple of multi-hit games. Make that 4 of his last 5 games have been with multi-hits. So he's really seeing the ball well, pushing that batting average back up, sits at .299. And he was a guy who eventually led the season off in that leadoff spot couple of times, and now that he's really hitting it well and seeing the ball well, he's moved down into the 3rd slot in the lineup. So he's hitting the ball pretty well and feeling good about himself.
Yeah, Smith, not the size that you would imagine to see at the 3-hole position, but with the numbers he's been able to put up, it's almost impossible to not put him there, as he's, of course, right there with Whisker, Pagano, and now Luca joining this team as well. If he can turn things up a bit, that would be a great addition to this team. But looked like that one might have been a broken bat liner over there to the left side of the infield. Thomas Rulis making the catch for out number 1, but that ball died as it really didn't make the good contact off of that broken bat. And Tyler Pagano will come up to the plate 0 for 1 with a strikeout.
Tyler Pagano was caught looking in the 2nd inning on that strikeout, in which he saw the first 2 pitches of that at-bat were off-speed pitches, and then he was froze on the 3rd pitch on that fastball. So it'll be interesting to see how Matthews works him here as he starts him up and away with that fastball, ball 1.
Yeah, you can really go with any of your pitches, whether it's the 4-seam fastball, the curveball, or that occasional changeup. I would imagine, though, that we'll be seeing a lot of curveballs here to Pagano, but we mentioned how he has a lot of struggles with the slider on the year, but Brandon, he went 2 for 4 in the game yesterday with 2 singles and an RBI, and both of the hits that he had were on that slider thrown by Jesse Stinnett of the Utica Unicorns. And we'll see what he can do here, trying to make adjustments day in and day out. But that fastball away, swung on and missed, as Gauthier can't hold on to it. Doesn't matter, as it's only strike number 2. And Pagano, for the 2nd time tonight, could be on the verge of striking out. As Matthews continuing to keep the pace going. Mentioned how he had 51 pitches, 36 of them for strikes coming into this 4th frame. The 1-2 pitch, 89-mile-an-hour heater, high and away, swung on and missed, and Pagano 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts tonight.
Well, Pagano last night, like you said, Rich, had 2 hits on the pitch that he really struggles the most with, hitting on the slider. But prior to those 2 hits yesterday, he had, in his last 2 games, no hits. But before that little hitless streak going, he had hits in each of his last 6 games. So Tyler Pagano has been seeing the ball well lately, and clearly that's a good indicator with 2 singles last night on the pitch that he struggles with the most, the slider.
So here comes Brandon Cuddy. Cuddy sees a curveball. It's for a strike, as it's called by Wagon Shoots, our home plate umpire. And tell you what, when that thing is on, it is lethal. And there's really nothing. I mean, I feel like I'm buckling up here in the broadcast booth, even though I'm not anywhere near the batter's box. Is this fastball hit back up the middle? Can we see another web gem from Mr. Christian Helsel? Yes, we can. Brandon Cuddy is retired in almost the same fashion as we saw the second baseman accomplish back in the previous inning against Alec Allred. We head to the home half of the 4th. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. To the home half of the fourth inning we go. It took Josh Mason just 10 pitches to get out of that third inning. We'll see how many it takes him here. And look at this in the, of course, name of Rod Allen. I see a big fella trying to put the ball down the third baseline and beat the shift. Jack Haranek showing the lumber, trying to lay one down. And look at that. Now the infielders shifting a little bit to the left, hits a rope down that first base line, but Tyler Pagano, in just his fourth start of the year at first base, makes a nice stop and prevents Jack Haranek from getting another double, which he leads this league in with 12.
Well, Jack Haranek there leading off the inning on the first pitch, attempting to bunt down the third base line. There was nobody over there as everybody was shifted over to the right side of the field, but, I mean, that one caught everybody by surprise, I would think. I mean, Jack Haranek, with his size, stature, and known ability to hit for power, him dropping one down is just extremely uncommon.
Speaking of power, that tough out to get, Mr. Brandon Raw coming up to the plate. Mentioned how he's been very hot as of late. Was over 2 in the game on the 8th, but he had 2 home runs back on the 3rd, 1 home run on the 5th, 3 home runs in his last 2 starts as the count evens at 1-1 for the Moorhead State product, as this pitch looked to be good, but it just misses a little bit low or a little bit outside. The count favorably going to 2-1 for Brandon Raw.
And Brandon Raw back in 2015 for the Batavia Muck Dogs. 41 games, 119 at-bats, 11 runs, 26 hits. He hit 7 doubles of those 26 hits, 13 RBIs. Struck out 35 times, had 3 stolen bases, but walked 9 times. So Brandon Raw, who's recently had some power lately, hitting a couple of home runs, at batting average sits a little bit low at 217, but hey, as long as he's, you know, scoring runs here for these Beavers, which have been streaking as of late, that's all they need. A little bit of power here and there, and he's good to go.
The payoff pitch hit on a line into left field. Base knock for Brandon Raw. And if we're taking a look at our pick the stick contest here, Mr. Rothenberg, you had taken Mr. Luca 0-2 with a strikeout and a ground out back to the pitcher. Raw was 0-1 coming into that at bat with the fly out to left, but he gets the single here to that same spot in the field, and the Beavers with a 1-out single. We'll see if they can do anything with it. And the name of the game, get him on, get him over, get him in. We'll see what TJ Ward can do as he's 1-for-1 with a base knock tonight. Him as well as Raw, and then of course Rulis, the only 3 hits in this ball game for the Beavers, but on the other end for those Mammoths, just the 1 single off the bat of Whisker. Would have been great to see him get what would have been a 13-game hitting streak. Yesterday, of course, would have been 12, but he went 0-for-4 in the contest, but he starts a new one here today. Is Ward ready for the first pitch? Fastball inside corner, called strike 1. And so far what we've seen in terms of the strike zone, it looks as if Wagon Shoots has a little bit of an inside type of strike zone, as those ones on that outer black of the plate, especially to righties, haven't really gotten the calls on both sides, but that's the name of the game. You want to be consistent.
Yeah, and that's a good point there, Rich. I mean, that could be why TJ Ward in the second inning with that single kind of tomahawked the pitch out in the right field. Wasn't unsure if he was going to get that, if he took that pitch, if it would get called for a strike or not. So he took his chances and rifled one out in the right field. So it'll be interesting, too, here to see how Mason attacks TJ Ward, knowing that he likes those pitches up and in the zone.
Speaking of up in the zone, there goes another changeup at 83 miles an hour. That one does, in fact, miss the zone, but still a good count here for Josh Mason, and maybe a setup pitch right there. Would like to see him drop that curveball in, or the slider in now, as he's got the count 1-2 to Ward. This one missing inside, almost sounded as if it ricocheted off of that jersey, but instead he gets out of the way in time. Count even at 2-2. The leg kick, the push, the breaking ball taken for a fly out down that left field line. It'll get out of the range of Jake Barbie and one hop its way into that left field bullpen where nobody is even at. No one's sitting around, no one's getting loose, and nor should they be. Both of these starters pitching fairly well, just like we saw last night with both, of course, Jesse Stinnett and Jake Angus.
Well, the last time we saw Jake Barbie lose his hat out in left field, he made the out on a running catch in foul territory, but unfortunately there for Mr. Jake Barbie. He loses his hat, but that ball was just hit too far in front of him and gets out of play.
The 2-2 pitch. This one looks like it's going to get out of play as well, but it'll stay fair. Out there over the left field wall, T.J. Ward with his second home run of the season, second home run of the night for the Beavers, and it's a 3-0 game.
Yeah, that was a good at-bat there by T.J. Ward, fouling off a couple pitches and waiting for the one that he knew he could do some damage with. Like I had said, he tomahawked a single in the right his first time up, and here he takes one the other way out in the left field and just hits a massive shot there and gives the Beavers a big 3-0 lead here early on in the game.
When you think of the name Ward and home runs, you think of Dan Ward, of
Yes.
course, of the Utica Unicorns, who leads this league with 8 of them. But T.J. Ward right there, a perfect 2-for-2 night as he's got a single and a home run thus far as Rob Paller stands in 0-for-1 on the night with a pop-out to short. But tell you what, that ball got off the bat quickly, and it got out of this park in a hurry as T.J. Ward having a great night thus far. Paller, meanwhile, looking at his second consecutive ball, and he looks at a lot of those. As in the league, he's got 25 base on balls, which is good for third on the season. Mason got to be careful here with the 2-0 pitch, and he leaves it over the heart of the plate on that 2-0 fastball. Paller takes it for a ride into the corner. Kitson getting it quickly and rounding into second base with a stand-up double is Paller. That the third consecutive hit for these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, and it looks like they're starting to get to Mason here.
Yeah, and, you know, Mason was looking good early on, especially with the off-speed pitch, and he throws his fastball 58% of the time, and he was getting most of his swings and misses and outs on those off-speed pitches, and the last couple of hits have been given up via that fastball. I mean, that home run by T.J. Ward was a fastball that really didn't miss any part of the plate, and now they're having a meeting of the minds out there, kind of going to cool him down a little bit, let him know he's doing okay, and just keep throwing for strikes. And we had mentioned, Rich, earlier on that Josh Mason in his last several outings has pitched at least 6 innings or more, and with it only being the 3 1/3 innings of work here for Mason, that's looking to be a little bit slow here early on.
Yeah, Mason with 61 pitches as we speak, but I want to bring light of something that happened yesterday in Major League Baseball as Christian Helsel looks at a bender for called strike 1. Not only, Brandon, did we see a cycle from Mookie Betts as he ended the game, not the game, but ended his night with a home run to complete the cycle, but we saw Justin Verlander. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but he had given up a home run, a triple, a double, and a single consecutively through the first 4 batters against the Seattle Mariners. Now, Christian Helsel, not a slow guy. If he can get a triple right here, it will have gone single, home run, double, triple in consecutive fashion, which would be something to see, as I would imagine that has probably never happened in the great game of baseball, a consecutive cycle for 4 straight guys, and it was something to see last night.
Yeah, and when you talk about the cycle watch, look at T.J. Ward. He's got a single and a 2-run homer here already through just the 4th inning, so he's going to have a couple more at-bats, you got to figure, and hopefully he can really break out that speed, and he's feeling fast today and push for the triple, which is always the hardest part to get of the cycle.
So the 4th straight hit for these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. Helsel, with his first hit of the night, brings runners to the corners. And I'll tell you what, they've really gotten to Mason here in this 4th inning after that line out from Jack Haranek, which was also a very well-hit ball. And I'll tell you what, Mason's fortunate that that wasn't a base hit down the line for the league-leading double or getter for these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers and Haranek. Otherwise, it would have been 5 consecutive hits.
Yeah, and Josh Mason has been giving us some hard contact here in this 4th inning of work, and you know he's got to really just go back to the off-speed pitches. That's what's been working for him so far tonight, and he's just giving up hit after hit on the fastball.
This one into right center field. Kitson underneath it, has a little double clutch. Still a good throw to the plate. Can he get the out? No, he cannot. Sliding safely under the tag is Rob Paller, and I'll tell you what, Brandon, you saw that little double clutch from Kitson. If he ended up not doing so, it would have definitely have been a bang-bang play in favor of the Mammoths. But this one, as Paller just slides in safely on the tag, the sacrifice flyout will go down in the books for Gauthier. But Shane McCaddy, of course, out there making note for his team, trying to argue the call, but having a few mince words there for Gary Wagenschutz. But, I mean, he was right over the plate, saw everything, had the best view in the house, just did not go the way that Shane McCaddy would have liked. I'll tell you what, Kitson already making great plays in the outfield so far this year, almost had a tremendous throw to the plate, but instead Paller comes in to score the 4th run of the game for the Beavers.
Well, I looked at Paller when he slid into home plate, and right after the call was made by the home plate umpire, he himself looked surprised. It seemed like Rob Paller even thought that he was out, and that was a great throw out and right by Drew Kitson, but unfortunately for him and the Westside Woolly Mammoths, it was not in time.
A bang-bang play at the plate going in favor of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. Ryan Smith standing in for the 2nd time tonight, reached on a error back in that 3rd inning that was committed by Alec Allred, and then he was caught stealing by Jackson Smith on a dime throw as Smith quickly down in the count 0-2 after that ball gets to a fan, turning into a souvenir in the top rows. But tell you what an inning as we're trying to catch our breath here as these hitters continuing to mash the baseball off of Mason.
Yeah, not only that, Rich, but a lot of hard contact given up off of that fastball. So Josh Mason's got to do a better job here of mixing in his pitches and trying to fool the batters and get them ahead in the count and just keep throwing for strikes with those off-speed pitches.
The 0-2 to Smith in the dirt. Smith, the catcher, trying to make a play after that one kind of made enough contact off of his body and went far enough into the infield grass where couldn't get to it in time. Heads-up play there from Christian Helsel to reach on that wild pitch.
Ryan Smith's been rather hot as of late. He's got hits in his last 4 of 6 games, 1 double, 1 homer, 3 RBIs, and 6 walks. So down in the count here, 1-2, but with the way that Mason's been pitching and rather struggling here tonight, I wouldn't be surprised with the count now at 2-2, only 2 more balls, and Smith's on, and that's more trouble for Josh Mason.
So you saw a curveball that missed in the dirt off the body of Jackson Smith, and then you saw the changeup there that missed low and away, and he brings it back. The changeup once again. Back-to-back change pieces there from Mason. End up getting his, first strikeout of the game. As we end this 4th inning, we head to the 5th. Beavers out in front by 4. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. We are through 4 at Jimmy John's Field. Rich Borland, Brandon Rothenberg with you. Jalen Lawson, first pitch looking on the bender off the hand of Kevin Matthews. Misses the zone low and in. Lawson on the night reached on a full count walk after he saw 7 pitches in the at-bat. I mentioned Lawson coming into play today, 2nd in the league with 27 walks, as he's not going to be walking out of the box here. Over there in left field, Brandon Raw trying to make the catch, but he cannot. It's that one really in the Bermuda Triangle between the two fielders on the left side, and then Rulis trying to make his way out there to make the catch as a shortstop, but Lawson reaching base safely for the second consecutive time. First hit of the day for the Troy, Alabama native, and here comes Jake Barbie 0 for 1 on the day with a swing and miss strikeout that ended inning number 2.
Well, fortunately there for the Beavers that ball didn't get away from Brandon Raw out in left field, and he had his counterparts out there, Nick Campana, to back him up and get that ball and prevent Jalen Lawson from reaching possibly second base there. A little bit of speed in Lawson.
I'll tell you what, that long inning for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers offensively in the home half of the fourth, yes, it's great, but when your pitcher's sitting and thinking and not making the same motions as he had been all night long and gets that longer rest than he probably needs, that's something that could affect the command and the approach here for Kevin Matthews as Barbie looks at 2 straight, and the only strike thrown to the Mammoths here in this inning was the base knock from, of course, Jalen Lawson, just the second single of the day for this team, and no one has made it yet to third base as Whisker reached second base back in the third inning on the wild pitch after his single as Barbie fouls this 2-0 pitch, rolls it over down that first baseline and out of play.
The one benefit for Matthews here tonight is that, like you'd said, Rich, he spent a lot of time in the dugout, sitting around waiting to get back out on the mound, but he doesn't work out of the windup. He works out of the stretch, so he's used to his pitching motion every time he goes out there, no matter, the setting of the game.
Barbie taking one to the opposite field. Brandon Raw at the track, at the wall, cannot make the catch. He barehands the one hop off the wall, throws one into third base, and that one almost bang-bang play as Lawson slides in safely. But Jake Barbie with the double. He had been struggling at the plate all season long, but a really good sign right there from the North Carolina native to put runners on second and third. And not only that, but he's doing it in a time where his team really needs it as they trail by 4 here in this top half of the 5th.
Well, unfortunately for the Westside Woolly Mammoths, the bottom part of the lineup has been struggling a little bit as of late, but both guys getting on there in Jalen Lawson and Jake Barbie, the 6th and 7th batters in the lineup for the Westside Woolly Mammoths, and hopefully Alec Allred can kind of make up for that error that he made a couple of innings ago and get some runs on the board here.
Allred up to the plate, grounded out into probably the toughest out of the day. That was that tremendous play from Christian Helsel where he threw that ball across his body up the middle. Allred down in the count to start this at-bat 0-1 as Matthews in his first bit of trouble all game long. First time that a base runner's gotten to that third base bag all night as the bender misses the zone high and away as the count evens up at 1-1.
In 2018 at William Peace University, Alec Allred reached base 15 times via the base on balls. So he did ground out in his first at-bat, but if he sees a couple of pitches here and tries to be patient, he could eventually work his way on as the count begins to be in his favor at 2-1.
Yeah, that ball just missing outside. You saw the try of the frame there from Adam Gauthier behind the dish, but that one just enough outside to not change the mind of Gary Wagenschutz, our home plate umpire. So Allred ahead in this count, 2-1. The fastball, that one missing well enough outside at 91 miles an hour, and Allred in a very favorable count. Now here's the thing. Mentally, if you're Allred, are you looking for ball 4 here to load the bases, or are you trying to see a strike, drive a ball into a gap, and drive in 2 runs and cut this lead in half? You could obviously do either one, but I'm assuming Allred trying to make something happen rather than let it happen, and he'll do just that. Ground ball back up the middle. Coming in to score his loss and rounding third and head for home is Jake Barbie, and Alec Allred, in fact, does it. He gets the 2 RBI single to cut this lead in half. Nice job there. The clutch factor going up a little bit there for the third baseman. A big job there to get the 3rd consecutive hit of the frame for his team.
And that was a great call there, Rich. Great prediction.
Woo!
Alec Allred has been struggling as of late, and fortunately for him, he gets the count in his favor with Kevin Matthews, who gave up base hits to the first 2 batters of the inning, and Alec Allred keeps it going. Gets the Woolly Mammoths on the board here with a 2 RBI single and keeps the train rolling here for Drew Kitson.
So 2 RBIs with 1 swing of the bat. Alec Allred driving in the only 2 runs of the game so far for these Mammoths. Kevin Matthews finally allowing someone to come in to score, but Drew Kitson now standing in Still with no outs on the board. Back-to-back-to-back base hits for the 6, 7, and 8 hitters. And it all started with Jalen Lawson as Kitson looks at ball one. The count evens at 1-1. And Matthews, you see him take that deep breath there, ready for the third go-around against this lineup of Westside. And something that he's going to want to keep down is that pitch count, of course, is this a whole new ball game with it being 4-2 and still nobody outs tying run at the plate.
And for Alec Allred, that's got to feel really good. I mean, since July 13th, he's only got 5 hits and numerous at-bats, so he has been really struggling as of late, and he gets the count in his favor and gets these Mammoths on the board.
This ball misses away, also gets away from Gauthier. Looked to be a wild pitch, but Gauthier did make some contact with that leather. We'll see exactly if they rule it a wild pitch or a pass ball. I would imagine it'll go down in the books as that wild pitch, but of course we'll see what the official ruling will be. Kitson ahead in this count either way with that 3-1 work. Mention how he leads this league with 28 walks on the year, better than anybody, and I'd be shocked to see him not do the same thing here. And he does just that. 29 walks on the year for Drew Kitson in just his 38th game of the year. And he gets the 4th batter in a row on for this team. And tell you what, the wheel's starting to shake a little bit for Matthews as it had for his counterpart, Josh Mason, in the home half of the 4th.
Yeah, he seems to be a little bit more wild than he has been in recent innings and starts. And on that last wild pitch, to Drew Kitson, it looked like in his delivery that, I don't know whether he slipped or just lost his balance, but it looked like he completely fell off the mound after he had delivered the pitch. So he's probably not feeling, too confident out there right now after giving up a couple of back-to-back hits and giving up some runs here. So this is a good time for coach to come out and settle things down between the battery mates and, just keep telling him that he's doing a good job and just keep trying to get these outs here as he's worked himself into a little bit of trouble.
And that's exactly what Chris Newell's here to do. He's a great baseball mind, but at the same time, he's a phenomenal coach, whether that's in the game of baseball or the game of life. He's a real positive human being, and he's out there probably letting Matthews know that he's got great stuff. He's here for a reason, and all you got to do is get a nice ground ball off the bat of Whisker, maybe knock yourself into a double play, and all of a sudden you're right back in this ball game still with a 2-run lead. So the lead, you still got to play with it. You still got to throw your strikes, get ahead of these hitters, and do your job, and you'll be able to stay in this game for at least another inning or so.
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, Matthews works strictly out of the stretch. He doesn't work out of the windup. And so when you're a pitcher and you come into the game and let's say you give up a leadoff hit of some sorts and you go from the windup to the stretch, it kind of messes with your mind a little bit because you're so used to pitching out of the windup and not so much out of the stretch. But for Matthews, I mean, that's consistent. That's his go-to. That's what he does. So granted, in every at-bat, he feels the same way going into it as he does the previous at-bat.
So here's that ground ball up the middle. Rulis over to Helsel, over to Hrenek, and they get that double play, the patented one as it goes down as the Trico double play. But I'll tell you what, Brandon, going back to that conversation you were having about Matthews working strictly from the stretch, believe it or not, in my entire college tenure, that's all I pitched from, and I was told by my coaches I was really one of the more accurate pitchers on my team. I didn't have the fastest stuff, but my stuff was pinpoint. It was accurate as possible. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I, had the least amount of walks in my 2 complete years on the team over there at Macomb Community College, the junior college, just about 20 minutes away from us here in Utica. But I'll tell you what, it really helped my game not having as much movement. And I learned that from an early age. The less movement that you have up there on the mound with your body, the more control that you'll have and the better pitches that you will throw, as Luca looks at ball 1 to begin this at-bat and then looks at called strike 1 to even it up at 1-1.
Well, the pitching ability in the USPBL is very diverse in many ways. You look at a guy like Brian Heldman, who can, throw out of the 3/4 arm slot, goes straight over, and a guy like Chris Dula, who just winds back and throws it 100 miles an hour each time out there.
A show-me seeing eye single there for Mr. Luca, drives in a run, and all of a sudden that Beaver lead dwindles down to 1, and your boy with a base knock and also driving in a run all of a sudden our pick the stick contest, a brand new ball game.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Guadencio Luca looking pretty good out there with an RBI single and making this lead even, or making this deficit, I should say, a little bit closer to the Beavers. The game now sitting at 4-3. And, Rich, like last night, we saw both pitchers really, it's not like they were having the best of seasons, but the game that both of them were having was incredible. It seemed like they were putting up back-to-back zeros each and every inning, and it was looking like that was possibly going to be the case here tonight, but with that, little miscue and that solo shot by Thomas Rulis, but a couple of back-to-back tough innings for the starters here tonight.
And Smith fouls this one off down that right field line. Having to go back to first, of course, is Mr. Luca, but Jackson Smith, another one of those guys who likes to get on base a lot, put the ball in play a lot. But he's 0 for 2 tonight with a strikeout and a line out to shortstop. So, and what we would call off night for a guy like Jackson Smith. Matthews trying to stay calm in this ball game as the sun starts to set, the lights start to come on. Smith trying his best to keep this inning alive for his team as this ball half swing there. It looked as if Smith was trying to just get out of the way, and this one will go wide of the bag. Matthews with the error throws it wide of Haranek. Haranek having to jump off the bag and keep that ball in the infield. Unfortunately, will not be able to end the inning for the Beavers, and that's just a tough point in the game right there for Matthews. He could have been able to get the final out of the frame on a slow ground ball back to him, but he can't make the play, and unfortunately it'll keep this inning going and keep that pitch count increasing.
Yeah, that's the one thing that people kind of don't realize. Like you would assume that as a pitcher, it's how hard could it be to make a throw over to first or second? Granted, anyways, that pitch gets away from Adam Gauthier. Runners now advance over to second and third, but that's the thing, is that sometimes if the ball is hit back to you and as you're on the mound, there's kind of so many thoughts like going through your mind, and that it's such an easy throw over to first base, yet sometimes it could be so challenging and difficult. And we saw it there with Matthews. That throw was wide, and he knew he had time, but like I said, that worry and the yips kind of kicked in there, and that was a tough error there for Matthews.
Yeah, it's very, very tough there for the left-hander. Could have gotten out of the jam, but now he's got to deal with runners on second and third with Tyler Pagano up to the plate, and nobody's more due than him as he's down here in this count 0-2. Matthews desperately trying to get out of this jam and stay out in front with that 4-3 lead. The 0-2 slider just missing the zone low, the count going to 1-2.
Wind picking up here a little bit, Rich, as my notes and papers begin to fly around the press box, unfortunately. So we'll see if this wind has any bit of a factor into the game here tonight.
That one missing the zone low, and now the count evening up at 2-2.
Tyler Pagano struggles hitting that slider. We'll see what he gets here with runners at second and third, 2 out.
That one missing outside, so after getting Pagano down in the count 0-2, 3 straight balls that he has seen, and I'll tell you what, if you're a guy like Matthews, that curveball been thrown for more strikes than the fastball has, I'd maybe try and go with that off-speed pitch, hopefully get a strike in there and get out of this desperately needed jam. And there goes the swing and miss strikeout on the breaking pitch. Strikes out Pagano for the 3rd time tonight. And that 8th batter of the inning. The Mammoths get 8 batters up to the plate in the top half of the 5th. We head to the home half. Beavers still out in front by 1. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rich Borland and Brandon Rothenberg with you on Catholic Night at the ballpark. Fans enjoying some good baseball, ready for fireworks after this one. But Josh Mason, his day is done. He goes 4 innings, allows 4 earned runs on 6 hits, doesn't allow any walks, but did have 1 strikeout against the 18 batters that he faced. And he'll now give way to Travis McQueen, coming to us from Radford University, as Campana quickly goes down in the count 1-2 with that foul ball. But McQueen, in his 2nd season with the Westside Woolly Mammoths so far this year, 16 total games, 52 innings pitched, a 3-3 record as he almost strikes out Campana there. Not sure where that one missed. On the season, in those 52 innings, he's allowed 64 hits, just 15 walks, 33 strikeouts, but that ERA sitting just a hair above 5. Of course, something that he'll want to get down. And going down on strikeout-looking pitch number 3, Campana is the first victim of the night for McQueen.
Tell you what, Rich, Josh Mason, his fireworks were non-existent tonight. Since his last loss, which came 6 games ago on June 21st, he struck out 38 batters in that span. And tonight he only had the 1 strikeout. So clearly that, shows you something, that he really didn't have his best stuff here tonight. Gave up hit after hit after hit. It seemed that previous inning he was out there, and unfortunately for him, his continued streak of at least 5 innings or more is settled here tonight.
Yeah, tough start for Josh Mason, but the beauty of it, there's always the next outing, and he'll be able to improve, I'm sure, the next time that he comes around. But yeah, just a good couple of 3 innings for both of these guys. Of course, Matthews doing well through the first 4 frames, only allowing the 1 hit, but sort of unraveling there in the 5th inning, allowing those 3 earned runs on 4 hits. And just a tough day for both of these starters after a good start to their days. But in the end, the win will go to, I'm assuming, Kevin Matthews, if he can, of course, pitch the next frame, and the Beavers stay with the lead for the rest of the game. But other than that, it'll be a bullpen battle the rest of the way, pending if Matthews does, in fact, stay out there for another one. But Rulis, for the first time tonight, swings and misses for a strikeout, and loving what we're seeing here from Travis McQueen, back-to-back Ks against a couple of guys who don't do that all that often in Campana and Rulis.
Right. I think it's safe to say that Travis McQueen, and along with him and the Westside Woolly Mammoth bullpen, that they weren't really going to be needed early on in this game, and with Josh Mason the way he'd been pitching as of late. But Travis McQueen looking good so far here tonight, couple of strikeouts. Back in 2016 at Radford, he compiled a 2-2 record with 1 save in 18 games. Finished with a 5.21 ERA.
As this ground ball over to the right side, Hranek on the night 0 for 3 with a flyout, a lineout, and now a ground out. We are through 5 innings at Jimmy John's Field. Beavers still out in front by 1, and we head to the 6th. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're through 5 innings at Jimmy John's Field, and I was a little surprised that we were seeing Matthews back out in this 6th inning. 93 pitches coming into this 6th frame, and pitch number 94 hitting Brandon Cuddy right on the numbers, as that was the only batter that did not come up to the plate in that 5th frame. And there are some arms getting loose out in that bullpen, and it looks to be an early opportunity for the big fella Brian Heldman, who we normally see later on in ball games. But with how close this one is, you understand you've got to go to one of your workhorses, and we'll see how much longer Matthews lasts in this ball game. And Lawson on the first pitch he sees, a big cut, trying to take this one out of the park and give the Mammoths a 1-run advantage and sort of hop over these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. Back-to-back big cuts there from Lawson, who's yet to have been retired today. A walk, a single, and a run scored.
I'm curious to see how long Kevin Matthews' leash is going to be here tonight. He started off, as that ball gets out of play, but he started off Brandon Cuddy with that first pitch hit by pitch, which obviously is not the greatest of signs, with especially the way his last inning played out for him. But like you mentioned, Rich, you got Brian Heldman warming up in the left field bullpen out there, a guy who usually comes in around the 7th or 8th inning or so. So this would be an early appearance if he just does end up coming here this inning or the next.
Lawson continuing to swing the lumber in this at-bat. He's seen 4 strikes. He's fouled off the last 2. And Matthews, it's kind of the trend we're seeing tonight. He's throwing a lot of strikes, double the amount of balls that he has thrown. Just that long 5th inning where 8 batters came up to the plate. Really the big blemish on the night for the left-hander. Outside of that, he's been nearly perfect, only allowing 1 hit outside of that 5th inning. And he's getting a little help here. Ground ball back up the middle. Lawson's speed, though, down the line will allow him to stay on the base pass. The force out at second, of course, retiring Brandon Cuddy via that 6-4 putout, but a really nice try there between Rulis and Helsel. And I believe the only reason they did not get the double play there was because of how hard that baseball was hit off the bat of Lawson.
Yeah, Jalen Lawson was definitely hustling his way down that first base line. He wanted to reach. He didn't want to hit into a double play, and he wants to keep this inning going, and lucky enough for him and his speed, he reaches base safely.
So Lawson over there on first. First pitch swinging is Jake Barbie. That one hit so hard off of Hranic's body. Not sure exactly where it got him, but he's looking at that right wrist of his, and it looks like that's where it made the contact. And getting over there late to the first base bag was Matthews. And everybody's safe as Lawson gets into second, and Barbie, I'm assuming, reaches on the infield single as we're still waiting for that ruling. And there it goes. In fact, an infield single there for Barbie. Back-to-back base knocks for the North Carolina native, and another good sign. We talked about Allred, who must have felt good after that 2 RBI single that drove in both the 2 guys on the base pass. And we'll see if he can do it here again, but Barbie with his 2nd consecutive hit. Nice job for the guys near the bottom of this lineup who normally don't have as much success up at the plate. So we'll see exactly what they can muster up here, try and fight back in this ball game and not allow Kevin Matthews to be in line for the victory.
Rich, that was a really scary play off the bat of Jake Barbie. I mean, you had Jack Hranic moving to his right, and you had the second baseman Christian Helsel moving to his left. And Hranic, it seemed like he didn't really know where his...
Wow, that one, another one up the middle. Matthews throwing the ball to second base to get the force out to retire Barbie, but definitely some time being taken here and taking the words right out of your mouth there. You were talking about that one was scary. That one, a top-notch level there for Matthews, as he barely had time to react, and we're just thankful that he looks like he's all right as our medical sponsor Beaumont heads out there, as well as Chris Newell, to just keep tabs on the starter, as he looks like he's fine, giving a couple of head nods here and a couple of thumbs up. So a good sign right there for the lefty, but man, was that scary.
Yeah, that was rather scary. I mean, that pitch was hit directly at him. I don't know how Matthews had the wherewithal to even react like that and just totally knock that ball down. You can only imagine how he feels now, but a bit of a positive note, I guess, for Alec Allred. He's been hitting the ball pretty hard tonight, and it was evident there on that last at-bat with the 2 RBI single in his second at-bat, but he did just line out to Matthews there. But a little bit scary on the play, but Alec Allred hitting the ball hard here tonight.
So now runners at the corners for these Westside Woolly Mammoths. 2 outs on the board, and we'll see what Drew Kitson can do as he's 0 for 1 on the night with a ground out to third and then a base on balls back in the 5th inning. Kitson on the season batting .214 coming into play today, trying to get a first hit of the night, and boy, would it be a big one as he looks at a bender that misses the zone low and inside. And Kitson, clearly the best part of his game and is his eye up there at the plate. Now, he doesn't put a lot of baseballs in plays. I mentioned how he leads this league now with 29 walks, as he's got walk number 29 in the previous inning, but he's also first in the league with 43 strikeouts. So does not make a lot of contact, but, I mean, you try your best to level out the walks with the strikeouts. A positive note with that many walks, but obviously you got to make some more contact with most strikeouts in the league as he's worked the count 3-0.
I mean, it is a good spot for him, too. It's not necessarily a bad thing, you know, getting on base all the time via the walk, as he is batting in the 9th spot, and he reaches here on that walk again.
4-pitch walk there for Kitson, loads the bases as Allred gets to second, Lawson stays at third. We head back to the top of this order, and looks like the day will possibly be done for Kevin Matthews as Brian Heldman is still getting loose out there. Now the question is, this is only the first technical visit of the inning for Matthews, because when they came out there the first time, it was, of course, for that potential injury. But Matthews looked to be okay after that comebacker, and now Chris Newell going out there. And I would imagine with where we're at in this ball game, of course, with the amount of pitches that Matthews has thrown, he's now over 100 with the total. Let me do a little math here. 104 pitches for Kevin Matthews. And I got to imagine that Chris Newell simply stated, Kevin, this is going to be your last guy no matter what tonight. So do your best to get out of this frame. If you give up a base knock, we're going to bring in Heldman to relieve you. So hopefully he can end his night, go through the complete 6 frames, and still be in line for the win if you're coming from a Beavers standpoint. And, of course, for the Mammoths, if you are Whisker, got the single back in the 3rd inning. But other than that, he's grounded out twice to that shortstop position. Once just a regular 6-3, but grounded out into that 6-4-3 double play in the 5th inning, which kind of took the sails out of the wind for his team, who had gotten 4 straight guys up to the plate. And then a backdoor bender there evens his count up at 1-1.
Yeah, that was a great pitch there from Matthews to Ethan Whisker. And Rich, you're definitely right. This will be Matthews' last batter no matter what happens, and hopefully he, for the sake of himself and what he's gone through tonight, can get out of it.
So pitch number 106 on the night for the lefty, fouled off and underneath the bat of Ethan Whisker. But Whisker, like we mentioned, 43 hits now on the season with that single in that 3rd inning. It's good for 2nd in the league, and trying to get RBIs number 24, 25, maybe 26. This one getting away from Adam Gauthier. Little blockage there from our home plate umpire, Gary Wagenschutz, but unfortunately for these Beavers, there's really nothing that they can do about it, as that one goes underneath Adam Gauthier with the wild pitch, and all of a sudden it's a tie ball game with Whisker still up at the plate.
And for Matthews, that was the last way that he wanted to let that run over at third base. Unfortunately for him and the Beavers score. I mean, he really tried his best to get out of this inning here, and his off-speed pitches has been working for him really well so far tonight, but unfortunately in that attempt there, just gets past Gauthier, and that tying run comes in to score.
As the 2-2 pitch fouled off, goes out of play. Whisker seeing the ball well in this at-bat, working the count. And the Mammoths just trying to keep clawing away at these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. And what a potential turning point in the game this could be before we go to the bullpen for the Beavers. The 2-2 pitch misses inside. The 81-mile-an-hour bender goes just inside. Whisker turning out of the way of that one. And he's worked the count full, of course, with that open bag at first. The runners won't be going anywhere until contact is made. Matthews coming set, the deep breath. The kick, the push, fastball in the dirt. This one gets past Gauthier. Thinking about coming home was Allred, but Kitson almost getting halfway to third base as he trots back to second. Whisker reaching base safely for the 2nd time tonight, the first via the base on balls. A really great at-bat right there from the Hillsdale product.
Yeah, and it's looking like that's going to be the end of the night for Matthews out there on the mound, and Brian Hellman is coming in from that left field bullpen. So good try by Matthews here tonight, but unfortunately his last couple of batters that he faced just really didn't go his way, and a couple of pitches literally got away from him, and that's kind of what costed the game and his line here tonight.
Yeah, he ended up giving up just one hit through the first 4 frames, but he allows 3 earned runs on 4 hits in the 5th, and then the 1 run here in this 6th inning. He's, of course, still in line for the base runners out on the mound, but we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll give you Matthews' final line, and then we'll tell you about the man coming up to the mound, Brian Hellman for the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. We'll take a quick break. We're knotted up at 4 with bases loaded and 2 men out here in the top of the 6th inning at Jimmy John's Field. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. We welcome you back, ladies and gentlemen, to the USPBL YouTube channel. We're all knotted up at 4. We're still in this top of the 6th inning, but the day is done for the starter, Kevin Matthews. He goes 5 2/3 innings. He allows 4 earned runs on 6 hits. He's, of course, in line for Allred, Kitson, and Whisker, the men that are on the 3 bags here tonight in this 6th inning. But on the night, he allowed 4 walks, struck out 7, and he gives way to Brian Hellman, who's had a really successful year thus far. Ended up 27 outings from the pen so far this season, 30 1/3 innings pitched with a 3-1 record. He does have 1 save under his belt. He's allowed 31 hits in those almost 31 innings, but just 11 walks to 31 strikeouts. And I'll tell you what, Brandon, the last 2 outings for Brian Hellman have been a little different from the rest of the entire season. He had a below 1 ERA through his first 25 outings, but in his last 2, he's allowed 6 earned runs on 6 combined hits. And not only that, but he's walked 2 and only struck out 1 to the 14 batters that he's faced in those last 2 outings.
Well, Hellman's stuff 2 pitches in is looking pretty darn good. 2 sliders that were coming in at Luca and then made their way into the left inner corner of home plate for called strikes. And Luca on that second pitch was shocked.
On the 3rd pitch, a hard hit ball off the bat of Luca. He just hits it right to Rulis at the shortstop position. So Whisker is retired via the force out, and we are through 5 1/2 at Jimmy John's Field. All knotted up at 4. We're heading to the 6th here at the ballpark on Catholic night. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. welcome back, everybody. We're in the home half of the 6th inning. Travis McQueen back out there for the Westside Woolly Mammoths as Brandon Raw, my pick the stick contestant, quickly down in the count 0-2 as Travis McQueen going that 5th frame, doing a not too shabby of a job. 2 strikeouts and a ground out to the top 3 hitters in this lineup. Campana and Rulis going down via the strikeout, and Haranek grounding out into second base. And McQueen looking really sharp here with just 12 pitches in that first frame as the 1-2 pitch just misses the zone high and away with that fastball. Great eye there from Brandon Raw, but now the count's even. We'll see what he can do here, trying to get his 2nd consecutive hit as this changeup at 82 miles an hour misses low in the dirt. Good stop from Jackson Smith, even though he didn't really need to with nobody on base, but like they say, practice makes perfect.
Rich, you were talking about earlier how Brandon Raw has really showed his power recently in his last couple of starts as he reaches via the base on balls there. Travis McQueen's stuff was looking pretty good last inning when he came out, a couple of strikeouts and a ground out to Jack Haranek, but unfortunately for him, this is not the start that he was looking for alongside these Westside Woolly Mammoths, walking the leadoff batter here in the 6th.
Do I get +1 for that bat flip? Did you see that?
I did see that bat flip, and that was rather excessive considering
it was a walk and not a home run.
It was a walk, not a home run, and he's leading off the inning.
Hey, you know what? Whatever works is this ball bunted into fair territory off the bat of TJ Ward, and I see Chris Newell, the manager of this team, with his hands in the air, looking like he's looking for an answer. Is, of course, him, the manager of these Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, a guy who does not like to use small ball, and that's one of the few sacrifice bunts that we have seen throughout this entire USPBL season, and not just season, but in all 3 years here. I know I was an intern year 1, called a few games last year. Chris Newell, not a fan of small ball, and at the level of baseball that we're at, you, of course, don't really need to have small ball. You're trying to get these guys to the next level and have them show their power and show their strengths. But in the end, with how close this game has been back and forth, we aren't sure how many more runs we're going to see this game. So I understand where TJ Ward's coming from, trying to get the runner into scoring position. And in the end, the name of the game, get him on, get him over, and get him in. Well,
TJ Ward is clearly for the boys here tonight, laying down that sacrifice bunt attempt, but I mean, he's been having quite the night with a single and a 2-run shot. So much for the cycle, I guess, unfortunately for him, but he's a team player and he's hoping that, you know, he wants to share the wealth with other guys on the team, and hopefully someone else can get that key run in to score.
And I'll tell you what, as unhappy as Chris Newell was seeing his third baseman lay one down, oh, look at that. Alec Allred right at the fence line in front of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers dugout. Looked like he had the surefire out, but at the last second, that ball pops out of his mitt as he stares at the sky like it was something up there that had caused the miscue. But a tough job right there for the man at the hot corner. Had that error back in that 2nd inning, and we'll see what happens here now as Haller stays alive for at least one more pitch.
Well, for Allred, it's not like he had, you know, a couple seconds to stand there and wait for the ball to drop. That was fully him being on the run when that ball hit his glove. His Paller's caught looking there, but yeah, that was quite the odd play there, Rich. Unfortunately for Allred, he obviously feared that the dugout was right there and that he was maybe closer than he thought, and that ball just popped out of his glove, but really didn't matter as Paller goes down the strikeout anyway.
Yeah, nobody happier than to see Rob Paller go back into the dugout than that man at the third base bag, Alec Allred. And unfortunately for TJ Ward, he does his job to get the bunt down and get the man over, but with the strikeout to Paller and now Helsel coming up to the plate, you need to see a base knock here from your second baseman. Otherwise, that sacrifice bunt, it goes by the wayside.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a key play in this game at this point and later on. So we'll see what happens for the Beavers.
And look at that, base knock up the middle. They'll be sending in the runner, Brandon Raw. The throw from the center fielder, Kitson offline and short, as that in fact does make a difference. That sacrifice bunt from TJ Ward, because tell you what, the runner would not have been coming in to score from first base. And in the end, they get their 5th run of the game with that small ball in that base knock in a clutch position from Christian Helsel. Back-to-back singles for the man coming to us from Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Well, that's the second time that the small ball has been attempted here tonight. The first time, Jack Haranek was up to bat with nobody on, and he felt like it was necessary for him to lay one down, but that panned off there for T.J. Ward with that sacrifice bunt attempt, and that run coming in to score. A key RBI single there from Rob Paler puts these Beavers up ahead here late, 5-4.
And I'll tell you what, the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers will be playing tomorrow against the Eastside Diamond Hoppers, and I cannot wait to have a conversation with Chris Newell about that entire situation, because you know he doesn't like the small ball. You saw the reaction that he had for T.J. Ward after he laid the bunt down. I cannot wait to hear his explanation, as the small ball does in fact prove to be pivotal, and especially if this ball game ends in a 5-4 fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine that T.J. Ward too is especially happy with the night that he's been having.
But in the end, looking strikeout retires Gauthier for the second time tonight, as back-to-back, not back-to-back, but two looking strikeouts retire Paler and Gauthier for the second and third out. But Christian Helsel driving in Brandon Raw to give the Beavers the 5-4 lead. We head to the seventh here at Jimmy John's Field on Catholic Night. You're watching the USPBL YouTube channel. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're through six here at Jimmy John's Field. It'll be Jackson Smith, Tyler Pagano, and Brandon Cuddy to the plate here in this top half of the seventh. Beavers clinging on to this one-run lead. And Brian Heldman back out there after he had finished the day for Kevin Matthews back to end that sixth inning, when your pick the stick contestant, Mr. Luca, ended up, let's see here, as my computer, of course, taking a second to load here, but Luca grounding out into that fielder's choice to end the sixth inning, as Smith down in the count quickly, 0-2. Reached on the error in the fifth, lined out to short in the fourth, and struck out swinging to end the first frame, as this 0-2 pitch, the 87-mile-an-hour fastball, misses the zone away.
Speaking of away, Brian Heldman, who spent his time away at San Diego State back in 2015, pitched in 5 of San Diego State University's 6 contests during the Mountain West tournament. He led San Diego State.
As this ball's lined over there to the hot corner, T.J. Ward makes the catch on the line, but yeah, continue.
Led San Diego State's pitching staff with 37 appearances, all in relief, in which that marked 8th in the NCAA First Division. Speaking of Brian Heldman, again, he played summer ball for the Battle Creek, Michigan Bombers in the Northwoods League back in 2012 and 2013. Struck out 34 batters over 27 innings, went 1-2 with a save and a 2.12 ERA in 23 relief appearances.
Yeah, Heldman, he's been one of the more surefire guys in this bullpen, in any bullpen, the entire season for any team. Mentioned how that ERA below 1 the entire season up until his last 2 outings, where he has allowed the combined 6 earned runs. And we'll see how long he goes tonight in a perfect position for a guy like him, a guy who throws a lot of strikes, gets a lot of outs, clinging on to just this 1-run lead. And mentioned that slider that Tyler Pagano has a hard time laying off of, cannot hold back the bat there, but I don't think anybody would have been able to pull back on a pitch like that. So much lateral movement there out of the right hand of Heldman, and he just continues to show us why he should be at a higher level of baseball. As this one, slider tries to enter the front door of the zone for Pagano, but he lays off. It's 1-2.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that last slider missed. Looked to be good for a called third strike, but Brian Heldman, partially what makes him so successful in this league is his ability to change his motion and his deliveries.
This one's fought off to the right side of the infield. Haranek with a little bit of footloose over there at the first base bag, but how about that? Brian Heldman, not only can he throw with the best of them, but he does his job, runs to that first base line, and gets to the bag quicker than